review's about to get medieval on your ass with the top 10 medieval themed games ever. War of the Roses. Based on the historical clash between the two great houses of medieval England, War of the Roses is a class-based third-person hack-and-slash game where you'll either join the Lancasters or the Yorks, get thrown onto a map, and then spend the rest of the time either hacking up the enemy or getting hacked up yourself, depending on how good you are at defending and attacking from different directions. Dark Souls. Despite being quite low on this list, it must be remembered that Dark Souls is a worthy entry and quite proudly wears its medieval genre with no shame. With all the typical weapons available that were around at the time, as well as some that are quite obscure, Dark Souls will force you through many settings typically found in the medieval genre, including castles, forests, and dungeons. So many dungeons. Dragon Age Inquisition. Origins is also a worthy contender of this title, but I went with the recent one due to its open world setting, allowing you to go off and explore the world and lore at your own leisure. Though being based in a fantasy setting, there is definitely a strong medieval game in there behind all the elves, magic, dragons, and Andraste's tits. Been waiting ages for an excuse to say that in a video?
Lane Goodman.
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The third installment in the Witcher series has taken its open-world medieval fantasy setting and improved upon it in many ways, allowing for greater immersion as well as filling the world with even more lore. Though you could explore the world in previous Witcher entries to some extent, the third game allows for greater exploration, giving the player the chance to live and breathe its harsh medieval environment. Assassin's Creed. Before the series got shit, we had the likes of Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 to entertain us. However, the first entry was set in the Holy Lands during the Third Crusade, and saw us travelling to famous medieval places such as Jerusalem, Damascus, and Acre, and encounter different factions such as the Knights Hospitalier, Knights Teutonic, and the infamous Knights Templar. Chivalry Medieval Warfare. Much in the same way as War of the Roses, but far more brutal. This game is a class-based FPS game set in the medieval setting. Play as anything from a slow but powerful knight to the quick but vulnerable archer. Like War of the Roses, the combat is unforgiving but tight, meaning that you'll either need to get good or go home. Or alternatively, just enjoy getting your limbs hacked off over and over again. Stronghold 2. It was a tough decision between Stronghold 1, 2 and Crusader 1, and I would have gone with Stronghold 3 if it wasn't shit, but I ended up going with number 2. What looks like a typical medieval RTS game is actually one of the most intricately designed castle management games that is out there. Building your keep and raising an army isn't as easy as it sounds, as you'll be required to gather all of the materials to construct your base first, then feed your peasants, then get them to craft weapons and armour, and then hire the soldiers, all whilst keeping your population happy and defending yourself against enemy raids and attacks. Each economic tree is fragile, and losing a wheat farm or two could mean that your entire base economy will collapse. No food means your people will starve along with your army. Forcing the player to be very strategic in their moves, Stronghold 2 is one of the most in-depth and enjoyable castle management / medieval RTS games out there. It was those 3 words to save my life. The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. Though most would huff and puff that either Skyrim or Morrowind isn't on here, most would agree though that Oblivion falls more into the medieval genre than the other two, or at the very least, what we all think of when we talk about the medieval period. A living, breathing medieval world filled with castles, keeps, hamlets, meadows, and knights on horseback. You can even become a lord yourself in one of the official DLCs. There's all of this and more, without even mentioning the first to third person melee and ranged combat with swords, axes, daggers and bows.
It takes two, baby. It takes two, baby.
Mountain Blade Warband. The single closest game to being able to play realistically in a fully open medieval setting and being able to do whatever you like in it, Mountain Blade Warband comes in at number 2. Starting off as a complete nobody, you'll begin your epic journey through the land by taking on small, unimportant errands for different lords. But soon you'll have earned enough trust to gain your own village, then raise a peasant army, then train them to become elite guards, then marry into a noble family, take it over through a coup d'etat, raise an even bigger army, and then go on a conquest to rule the entire realm. At first this game looks unpolished, unrefined and not worth your time, but with a bit of investment and some trial and error, you'll find yourself spending many upon many a day playing this underrated gem of a game.
One more time, got me feeling so free.
Medieval 2 Total War. And finally, the second medieval game in the Total War series arrives in at number 1. Pick a well-known European or Middle Eastern faction from the time, raise your army and nation from the ground, and then either negotiate your way to supremacy, or just kill or blackmail anyone who stands in your way, whether it be an individual or a nation. The detail to historical accuracy is incredible here, with many units and soldier types being unique to certain factions, and all of them well balanced. But what I enjoy the most with this is playing this historically accurate game, and then doing something completely inaccurate, such as playing as Egypt and then invading Britain. Combining its turn-based RTS world map that's focused on political and resource strategy and management, along with its real-time battle scenarios, Medieval 2 Total War is by far one of the most enjoyable and rewarding medieval video games out there, and that's why it makes it in at number 1 on this list. And that's all there is here for now, but if you're Egyptian and you're thinking of invading Britain, then chances are you're working for Islamic State, and I should probably end this video before the death threats start coming my way. True review out!
This life is killing me.